Hi Flosstube, it's Arlene here. It's Thursday, November 21st, but in full disclosure, there's a good chance I'm not going to get this uploaded until Friday because of the delays that I've had in getting to film this and then in what I have going on afterwards. Um, Simply put, in my complex, they're taking down trees, and they decided, and it's been going on all day today, to take down some trees that are right near my place. And I did a quick little test, and you could hear this hum in the background, which is the noise. So I had to wait till, and it doesn't look like they're really done, but it looks like they're at a stopping point. Maybe they're just sort of cleaning up for the day. I don't know, but I'm trying to get this filming in because when you're all prepared to do a floss tube and you want to just get it done on a certain day, and then when it can't happen because of outside circumstances, it's really frustrating. So I'm hoping I can squeeze this in without any too much outside noises that are out of my control. And if I can't, and if the noises come back, the machines that are out there, you won't be seeing any of this because I'll have to refilm it tomorrow or whenever I get to it. Welcome. If you are returning, I so appreciate you coming back. Welcome if you are new. It seems like many people are starting these days by saying this is a channel about stitching. I'm not just going to say cross-stitching because I have quite the variety, the hodgepodge of stitching-related things to share with you today. So I hope you are interested in staying with me here. I wanted to start with a shout out, and it started with a shout out, but it's morphed into more than just one shout out. Delicious Threads Jen just launched a new website, and because I saw Bendy Stitchy do this, I wanted to give a shout out to Jen and to her new website. She's got amazing new needle minders. Go check them out. The link will be below, as well as her project bags, which are just wonderful. And when you have friends that do amazing things, you want to shout them out. Here's what happened in my mind though. I'm filming this just a week before Thanksgiving, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But coming up after Thanksgiving comes all the shopping frenzy, and I'm thinking most especially about Small Business Saturday. And there's a lot of us in this community that have small businesses, and I am so grateful and thankful. It's one of the things that I am thankful for, the stitchy friends that I have. And when I sat down and thought about it, Jen is not the only one that has amazing things for sale, and that maybe we need to shout out those small businesses, especially in this upcoming time. I mean, I certainly hope people don't only support small businesses on Small Business Saturday, support them all the time. But if you have needs for yourself or for stitchy friends in this upcoming shopping frenzy season, there are a whole bunch of people that might be able to help you out. So I want to give some shout outs to them. So the first one is Delicious Threads Jen, needle minders and project bags, wonderful things she has there. My dear friend McKenna, many of you are very aware of Stitching in Sequins. Her 1884 Stitchery.com business will be literally just 1 year old on Black Friday. She launched it the day after Thanksgiving last year. She has patterns as well as other accoutrements, but a lot of patterns, some threads, some other fabric, all kinds of things that have come from all kinds of places. Go check her out. She just saw this, worked out how to do international shipping on her site. So that is now an easy option for everybody. But please go give her a check out. Abby, Top Knot Stitcher, needle minders are a big part of her site, but she's got lots of other things, but amazing stuff there. She's also jumped a little bit into the designing world, so she's got a few patterns, but Top Knot Stitcher, check. She's on Etsy. All these will be linked below. I'll say that multiple times. Trisha at 3 Owl Threads. If you are feeling the need to join a thread club, her nest egg is a great I would say is a great thing to suggest to somebody to give you as a gift. She also sells patterns. She sells both through a Facebook page and Etsy store, and I will link her below. My fellow designing friends out there, Bendy Stitchy, Michelle, has her own website, and also through her website links to stores that are selling her designs, so check her out. Ryan of Wild Violet. I have gotten to know Ryan through some recent retreats, and what a joy to see her designs. I will link her below. Her patterns are at Gum. I'm blanking on the name of it, but the link will be there. And then just even expanding a little bit beyond, Emily of Eclectic Possessions, she has a Facebook page where Facebook group where she puts up project bags. I am the proud owner of one Momily bag that I can attest to the amazing quality. She doesn't have regular stock. It's not the same thing as an Etsy store or these other businesses, and I don't know if she plans on being able to sew more project bags between now and the holidays, but you can join her Facebook group and keep in the know of any project bags she might have available. And Diana, It Is Kismet Stitches, also sells project bags through Emily's Facebook group. So if you join that Facebook group, you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal. All of these friends, these small businesses will be linked below, and of course my own Etsy store with my designs, my patterns that are available to you. Also, if you have an LNS, you can also encourage your store to carry my designs through Hoffman, or they can contact me personally. That would be a great gift to me, just to know that my work is out there. So that's a very long shout out, and that's just a sprinkling of some of the small businesses that are in our community. And I'm just going to put it out there. I hope lots of people can do these kinds of shout outs. Make sure we all know of one another. Make sure that if there's shopping to be done, whether it be needle minders or patterns or fabric or threads or whatever your needs, that we know of multiple sources to go to choose from. And obviously not just this holiday season, but it's just good to know about for year round. And again, I am thankful and grateful for this community in so many different ways, but very much for the friendships that I have formed because of it. So, speaking of patterns, if you follow me on Instagram, last week, or earlier this week, I snuck in and came out with a couple of new designs, a couple of smalls. I had wanted to do this in a very timely sort of way because they are for Hannukah. I'm going to show you, these are the two designs. They are both finished as cube finishes. They are slightly different sizes, so different size cubes. I'll start with this one. It's hard to see. Yeah, you really can't get the effect. But this star was stitched using DMC étoile threads. This is only the second time I have stitched with étoile, and I liked it so much better the second time. And the specific difference was the first time I was stitching on 36 count and only using one thread. And the disappointment that time was the sparkle really wasn't showing through. And that was on my not working cross stitch design, and I know I talked about at the time that I was not impressed with the étoile thread. Soon after, relatively soon after, at the Flosstube retreat, I saw a project done by Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, where she was using the étoile threads, and I saw the sparkle and really needed, is this a color thing, or and the difference was she was using 2 strands on whatever count, 32, 28, whatever count fabric. And it made me consciously think, I got to try étoile again. I got to give it another chance, and I have to make sure to do it at a fabric count that uses 2 strands. And so this time around, this is on a 32 count, just a white Bobbin even weave. I'm trying to get a good, there you get a little bit of the sparkle. I mean, it almost looks like it's white showing through on the blue, and it's not. It's the sparkle. And the gray, yeah, you can't see it. What I've included in this pattern, because a Jewish star is a Jewish motif that could be used for times a year beyond just Hanukkah time, is 3 other center ideas, including a chai, the Jewish symbol for life. I know I have a necklace, oh, I should have put it on, that I got a long, long time ago, that many Jews might have something like that. And also a couple of other just like graphic looking things if you just wanted if you didn't want this to be a Hanukkah design and just wanted it more of a general design. So I have this one. And the menorah one, I stitched using Gentle Arts blueberry on the blue and gold leaf for the yellow. And the thinking that went with this one is that from the very beginning is that I wanted to use specialty stitches for the candles. And you will also see the candle flames have gold seed beads. So you can see this, I think you can, yeah, there we go. So the I really like the way this came out. This fit very nicely on a dollar store cube, made famous, so to speak. Seen on a lot of Flosstube channels, I don't know, about a year or so ago, I feel like they started popping up. If you have a small design, go to Dollar Tree, and in like where they have floral stuff, for like fake flowers and so on. This cube is 4 inches by 4 inches, and what I like is that it's not 4 by 4 by 4. It's 4 by 4 by 3 or so, and that makes it funny. It just gives it a good dimension. Actually, this cube, which the star was just a little too big to put on the 4 by 4, so I did go get a 5 by 5. And this cube was 5 by 5 by 5, and it was, to me, it's too chunky to put it on there. So I actually hacked off a bit of it just so that it would have a similar look to this guy. So I am pleased with my 2 little Hanukkah designs. They are both available now in my Etsy store, and links will be below. If this is the first time you're with me, or if you were not aware of this, I sell all of my patterns both as paper copies that I will mail to you or as PDFs. So you can get the instant gratification of PDFs if that is what works for you. So yeah, I'm pleased with how these came out. Oh, another thing to talk about with the menorah, with the blue, I chose to I didn't want any stripy effect with the variegated thread, so I did a lot of jumping around. You know, I would stitch enough to get like the basic outline, and then I jumped around a little bit. So I have a nice mottled effect. I don't know how else to say it, but I really like the way that it came out. Like there's no stripiness in any direction. It's just all mixed in, the color variations. It came out really nice. The yellow, the gold didn't really have much in the variation, which was fine. It's partially why I chose that gold to use. And the beads for the flames worked out perfectly. So snuck in those little holiday designs. You know, it had been mentioned to me by many people that there really aren't Hanukkah, Judaica designs out there, or not that many, I should say. And I thought, well, you know, I've got the background. I might as well put out a couple and see what the response is, and we'll see what I might do in the future with those. We'll see. So there we go. So there's the cross stitch portion of today's Flosstube video. And then I might talk about what I'm working on now, but I can't show it to you. It's one of, you know, that's been this fall especially, and it's going to continue through the winter as I am planning ahead in my Works by ABC designing. It's like you know, when can I do a Flosstube? When do I have things to show you? Because like what I'm stitching right now, I don't want to show you yet. I want to show you when it's done. So, but I will give you a hint. I'm stitching on navy. I rescued this little strip from the garbage can. It was the piece of fabric that I'm working on was just literally, less than an inch too wide to put on my scroll bars. So I cut off this piece so that I could work on my scroll bars. And I thought, well, at the very least, I could mention the piece that I'm working on right now, which will be a future Works by ABC design, is on navy. There's your hint. Do with that as you will. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Even though many people have or will have Thanksgiving on the mind, I'm going to take you back a step, a holiday, to Halloween. And if that was the cross-stitch portion of the video, I'm now going to talk the sewing portion of the video. I don't talk sewing much. I don't sew on a regular basis. I know many people will show quilting in their Flosstube videos, and I so love that. My bit of sewing mostly happens just once a year, and I've talked about this before, but it was about a year ago that I talked about it, and I sort of forgot to mention it in my last video, but I really didn't have the pictures to go with it. So here we go. I'm going to talk as if you have no idea what I'm saying or have not heard this before. I have the pleasure of making Halloween costumes for my niece and nephew over the years. I have two sisters, and these are the children of one of my sisters. And without giving you the whole background story why I do this, it started when my niece, she is a December birthday, so for her first Halloween, she was about 10 months old. And the children of my other sister, when I had made some Halloween costumes for them when they were really little, and I stopped for a number of reasons, but the very first one, he was a blue crayon for his first Halloween. And so this sister asked me to make a Halloween costume for my niece that year when she was 10 months old to be a pink crayon. And that just started the Halloween costume tradition. This year she sent me a photo book, which I am going to share some pictures with you to take you down the trail of the Halloween costumes that I have made over the years. So the first one started when she was just 10 months old, and you can see right there, oh, I wanted to show you, yep, there we go. So she is dressed as the pink crayon. The year after that, in a sort of traditional way, my sister chose for her to be Minnie Mouse. And I made that. Now, yes, of course, you could get a Minnie Mouse costume pretty easily, but I made that one for her. Not the ears, they bought the ears. After that, she started getting into princesses. And again, you can make these costumes, you can buy these pretty easily, but I made her a full princess outfit right there, Belle. And she was carrying a rose. And here's her showing off her candy loot. And it was the year after this that her little brother came along. And he is a July birthday, so he was just three months old, end of July, end of October, yeah. 3 months old for his first Halloween. And the idea was, what could they do that would go together? So she chose to be Snow White that year, and to have him be one of the dwarfs. And the first thought was for him to be Dopey, because Dopey doesn't have a beard. My sister wasn't keen on him being Dopey, so we went with Sleepy. So here's my niece dressed as Snow White holding little Sleepy there. And here you can see Sleepy, what do you say? Living up to his name. The year after that, she's still in her princess state of mind. She wanted to be Rapunzel. Rapunzel has a little lizard, I think that's what it is, friend named Pascal. So that's what he was. And that was really sort of, and he wasn't really walking yet, so she was sort of like holding him up. And the year after that, they were Poppy and Branch from Trolls. And what was pretty amazing is that he's usually not one to have stuff on his head, but he kind of liked and maybe it was because she was wearing something on her head, he was okay with wearing that blue thing on his head to be Branch from Trolls. Next came this, so now we're up to last year. they decided together that they were going to be superheroes. So she was Batgirl and he was Spider-Man. So there they are, Batgirl and Spider-Man. They had the masks as part of some dress-up set, so that just worked out really well, and I had just made the costumes that went with them there. And now here we are this year. My niece this past spring got really into Annie, like Little Orphan Annie, as in The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. And she decided she wanted to be Annie. And what's so funny about that is that a lot of the kids don't know who Annie is. And she fell in love with it for watching the DVD, the original movie, like from the 80s, not the version of Annie that came out, although I think she has seen it. But the version of Annie that came out a few years ago, she likes the original one. Her brother had a really hard time deciding what he wanted to be, but eventually it came down to Toy Story. And if you can picture Buzz Lightyear and Woody, and which costume would have been easier to make, Woody. And what did he choose? Buzz Lightyear. So here we go. We have Annie and Buzz Lightyear. Now, my sister bought the wig to go with the Annie dress that I made. And those like wing-like things that he's got on his back, that was a blow-up thing that my sister bought to go with the outfit that I made. But they were both pretty happy with their costumes. So there you go. That takes you through takes you through these Halloween costumes that I have sewn. And for those who walked through with me, I think I shared last year what I sewed for the Batgirl and the Spider-Man, and maybe even the year before. That just keeps you up to date with where my little niece and nephew are with their Halloween costumes. So again, I'm not a big sewer. It's not something that I really enjoy doing, but they love it. I mean, they started talking in August, what are we going to be? And it's very sweet that they appreciate, and that's a big thing, they appreciate the Halloween costumes that Auntie makes for them. And that makes me want to do it. So I do it. Let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? So I am on Fibertalk about once a month. If you are not familiar with that, I'll put a link below. It's a podcast. Please do go and listen to it. It's on twice a week. On Sundays, there is always a special guest, someone somehow in the needlework world, a designer, store owners, people of all kinds. I've learned so much. And the Wednesday midweek shows alternate between Vanna Pfeiffer, Debbie Rowley, and myself, and we all talk and and revolve around Gary Parr, who has run this podcast to be an amazing resource for so many stitchers out there. And in the show that I did the last time, which I guess was last week's midweek show, I think. I'm confusing. Anyway, it came up, or it got mentioned, a project that I did, and it was something that I showed a long time ago on my Flosstube. Like, I want to say in one of the early Flosstubes. And it made me wonder, from time to time you see people showing projects that either they hadn't shown before but they had done like years earlier, or that they have shown before but it had been years since they had shown it. And I've been on doing Flosstube videos now for 2.5 years. And I don't know how many of you watching this video right now have been watching from the beginning. But I got someone who emailed me and was curious more about the project that got discussed. So I thought, why not just take a couple of minutes and share it again? So what had come up on the show was about a project by Curdy Biggs, who designs under Threadles. Needles. I think it's supposed to rhyme with needles. Threadles. Needle art design. The design, and this is a counted canvas. Sorry, I should have introduced this by saying this is the counted canvas work portion of today's video. I love doing counted canvas work. I haven't done much of it lately. So this is a design called Cathedral, and the conversation had come up on Fibertalk how I had changed it. This is the original colorway, as you see, like on the front cover of the pattern. And she also included thread choices for 2 other possibilities. You can see those here. And to me, there was something about the layout, the complexity of the stitches that definitely appealed to me. But there was also something about it that, to my eyes, seemed too busy. And yet, this was appealing enough that I wanted to do something with it. And so I purchased the pattern, studied all the list of materials. There's a lot of beads in here, a lot of different kinds of threads. And I decided one thing that I wanted to eliminate was the variety of color. Now it's almost like a monochrome thread palette. Lights and darks all along, bronzes and browns kind of thing. But to me, there was still too much variety going on. What I ended up doing with this project is this. So this is what I did with this. So all the threads that I used were all the same shade of blue, sort of a deep royal blue, not navy, not quite navy. Somewhere between royal blue and navy, let's call it that. I did use different types of threads. There's some silk thread, there's some metallic thread, there's velvet thread, there's some rayon thread. So there's definitely the variety of thread. And there's a few places where there's a little bit of gold thread. And all the beads, I think all the beads are gold. Nope, there's a few little blue beads as needed. But I loved the challenge of doing something like this. Now, there are some people, McKenna, I know what you're thinking right now. Why don't you have that framed? It is still sitting on the stretcher bars that I did it on. Okay, yeah, I know, I should get this framed. I haven't had a need for the stretcher bars, so it never came off the stretcher bars. So at least it's being kept in good shape. One day it will get framed. It just didn't happen. It is also on a canvas that got gold in the, I forget what this is called. Oh, and look, that's T for top. Wasn't that smart of me to put it on? I mean, I want to say it's completely symmetrical, that it really didn't matter that I was holding it upside down for a few minutes. But again, I know that I've shown this a long time ago, but I thought, especially because it came up and I got emailed a question about it, it was worth showing it again. What you can do when you see the elements of something you like. I liked the geometric, I liked the symmetrical, there were parts of this that were definitely appealing, and I knew that there was elements that I could take from it, and certainly I love the complex stitches. Love the challenge of those. I also left out some of the stitching. Some of the areas that you see along here, I want to say she originally had things going on in there. And I felt like the whole design needed a little more calming down to my eyes. So there we go. I just wanted to share that with all of you. And again, the design is called Cathedral Notre Dame. I think it's called both of those. Curdy Biggs Threadles design. Okay, so the next thing on my list is to move into the bobbin lace portion of today's video. And to do that, I need to pause and get reset up. So let me just say this. If you are not interested in bobbin lace and you want to peace out at this point, that's fine. Many of us leave the non-cross stitch or the non-stitching part of videos towards the end, whether people are talking about books or talking about knitting or talking about something other than cross stitching, so that you can choose what you want to watch. But I've been doing really good on time today, so I knew that I didn't have that much to share. I wanted to share some bobbin lace. So I'm going to get reset and I'll come back in a moment. Hi there. So I have set myself up to do a little bobbin lace this is the best setup that I can do with how I film. I film using my laptop, so I can't zoom in on what I'm working on, which I know many of you would appreciate seeing the zoomed in version. What you'll do is you'll see what you can see. I can't film on my phone or my iPad because of space issues, but we're going to do the best we can with what we've got. If you have never seen bobbin lace before, let me give you a little bit of background. These are called bobbins. They serve the same purpose as like a sewing machine bobbin would. They hold thread. They just look a little different. Bobbin lace is one of the ways that lace was made before machines made lace. And another way is called needle lace. What I'm working on here is a heart. It is a type of lace called Idria. And Idria comes from the country of Slovenia, which I was just reading up, is between Italy and Austria. It is a type of lace that uses very few bobbins. So you can see there's only 5 pairs. You always talk about, in bobbin lace, you always talk about the number of pairs you're using. There is part of this design of when I get to over here, and I did turn off one of the lights to help you see, but you're still going to get a glare going on. There's part of this design that I will use 9 pairs, but a good portion of it I'm only using 5 pairs. This, oops. So also on this page right here is called the pricking, which is also what's on my bobbin lace pillow. You could sort of say it's the equivalent of showing the pattern on a floss tube. I don't think anyone could possibly copy this right now. You just can't. It's at the angle. I also have what's called a working diagram, and this is incredibly useful. It's color-coded, and it's helping me as I'm working on a style of lace that is not so familiar. This is really only the second project I've ever done of this kind of style. Just to know when to do twists and when to do crosses and a few other little things. I've got some tools hanging out here to help me do what's called sewings. This is a magnetic pin cushion. These are pins, and this is a little hedgehog, and it's a magnet inside so the pins stay right there. Let me get started, and then I'm going to talk. You're not going to see me, my face really, but hopefully you'll see my hands doing what they need to do. So when you're doing bobbin lace, you only work with 2 pairs at a time. And the basic movement is to cross the 2 center pairs like that, then to take the right hand of each of the pairs and cross the other direction, which is called a twist. And then for what I am doing right now, I'm taking that center one and doing another cross. So what I am doing is called cloth stitch, which is cross, twist, cross. Now, I also normally would have something covering some of this so that the threads that I'm working on don't get stuck on the pins that are pushed down. The thing that I usually use is a piece of plastic with a hole in it. Oops, let me just check what I'm doing here. Oh, I am doing that. But with the plastic there was a glare going on, so I took the plastic off. This is all for the sake of you guys. Now, I'm not putting in a pin at the end there just because I'm working on a curve here. What I'm doing is I'm now going to go back in this direction. Cross, twist, cross. I left this pair off to the side. Again, that's part of the curve that I'm making. Cross, twist, cross. Cross, twist, cross. Now, coming back over here, not getting caught on those pin heads. So there's, you probably can't see, I don't know, maybe you could zoom in on your end. I can't bring it closer to the camera, sorry. There were pins all along the way, and that's how you make lace, and you push down the pins when they get in the way. But sometimes you need to push them back up. This tool has a little hook at the end, which allows me to pull a pin up easily. So I pulled that pin up, and the reason I'm pulling that pin up is that there are a couple loops there that I need to do a sewing, that I literally need to what's called sew into. I need to get this pair attached to the loops that are coming from another part of the design. So I'm taking the tool that's in my hand right now, which is a little hook, and pulling through those loops with this thread, but it's not pulling through nicely. This is what happens when you do things on camera. Let's try this again. Try pulling it out. Okay, now grab the thread with the hook, try pulling it through. Aha. Once you get it sort of through, this is a pattern, as is true with a lot of Idria patterns, that has a lot of sewings. And you just got to be patient when you're doing them. I'm going to put the pin back in just to help support the threads, so that I've now connected this pair and this path that I'm making here with the previous work. And I'm going to go back to doing cross, twist, cross. Cross, twist, cross. Now let me check my working diagram to know, all right, so I'm still working on this curvy part here. So I'm not putting a pin in on this side. I make a twist on this side, and then I work back using this pair. Now here's a case where I think you could see one of them has just gotten a little bit too long. So I'm just going to shorten up the thread a little bit. Cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross, cross, twist, cross. And I think, yep, I need to do another sewing on this side. The thread I am using is a cotton thread. Lace, bobbin lace is usually done with either cotton, linen, or silk thread. I don't love linen thread. I've done some pieces on linen thread, and I think the last time I was using linen thread kind of told myself, I don't want to use this thread again. So most of the time you can really use it. To me, it's a lot like a cross stitch project. You do what you love. If you don't love a color on a pattern, you change it. If the pattern called for a certain kind of thread and you don't have that thread, you do something different. Now, one difference is if you don't use a thread that's the same size, you do have to adjust the pattern, like this part right there. It would be the equivalent of instead of using a DMC floss, you decide to use a pearl cotton. You know, that would totally change like the fabric count that you might have to use on a pattern. Am I still doing curves? I just did that, so I'm doing a curve here, so yes. And the other thing about Idria is that you'll notice that I'm turning my pillow an awful lot. And I will do that, I mean, it's part of the nature of this winding design. Let me just show this to you again. Where I am on this design is, and this is showing it backwards, but I am just trying to, so I've done all of this winding trail, and I'm just trying to get done with the winding trail and work my way down to where it's straight. Then I will work my way up this way, around here, and then do this part there. So, working back this way. You know, I never know what to talk about when, you know, I like to give a little lesson in bobbin lace, and I don't know what else to say. People often, when I have done some bobbin lace on previous videos, people say, how do you get started with it? And one of the challenges with getting started with bobbin lace is that you need items in a way that you don't need items for starting cross stitch. You know, if you have a friend who said, gosh, I'm interested in starting cross stitch, you could probably go to your own stash, pull out some DMC floss, some piece of probably Aida or maybe some linen that you have, give them a needle, find some simple project, maybe even a freebie online, and they're good to go. Um, when it comes to bobbin lace, you need some basic materials. Now you can make some of these materials. Sorry, I was studying the working diagram to know what I'm doing here. You can make some of these basic materials, like these wooden bobbins. I have seen versions that are made with like small dowel rods and beads. It serves the purpose. You can make a pillow out of the foam that you can get like at Home Depot. You can make some of this stuff. It's just that on its own, it's a lot more complex to get things started. And that's why taking classes, especially to get started, is a good idea. But then you have to be somewhere where they're offering beginner lace classes. There's an organization called the International Organization of Lace, Inc., and it's a little bit of a misnomer in that it's not, there's a whole history behind the name. It serves the US and Canada, so it's not really international. There is an international organization, and that's called OIDFA. And OIDFA is O-I, hold on, 1, 2, pin, 1, 2. So OIDFA is OIDFA, and that stands for Organisation Internationale, it's the French words, Dentelle, which is lace, DF, Fuseau, which is the French word for bobbin, and the A word is, I'm blanking on what it is in French, but it's the word for needle. So it's the International Organization of Lace and Bobbin Threads. International Organization of Bobbin and Needle Lace. But back to IOLI, which is the organization here in the US, they have a website, International Organization of Lace.org, I think is what it is. And you could go to that website and you could look up where there are groups and potentially get in contact with a group and ask, do they have a teacher? Do they have some beginning lessons? Do they have a lace day where there are beginners? I mean, if you are genuinely want to try this out, there are ways to do it. Now, there's also YouTube tutorials, because you can find anything on the internet. And there are people that have taught themselves, that are self-taught right from the beginning. There's no doubt about that. All right, I'm making my way along here. Oh, am I at this sewing? Yes, I am. Can you see, I've got a bunch of pins sticking up at this point. I don't need to push any of them down right now, but I will eventually push them down. What happened to my, it rolled off somewhere. Oh, here. I need to pull this pin up. I'm doing another sewing now, and I often feel like I'm performing surgery. If you watch any YouTube bobbin lace, like especially there's some videos out there of people like seeing lace makers on a street in like Belgium or something like that. Some of them work so fast, and if you know what to look for, like if you like to see them do a sewing, like what I'm doing right now, they're like and they're done. And I can't even follow, and I know what I'm looking for. You pull through one thread to get a loop. You take the other bobbin, you put it through the loop, and then you have sewn it together. Now I got threads stuck here. Again, I wish I had a better way of filming this for those that are interested. Whoa, I've already been talking for 15 minutes. So I don't know if you're still with me. If you are, thank you for staying with me here. I'm going to wrap this up. Just one last thing. I almost started the video this way, but I didn't want to make a big deal. I just want to say in Thanksgiving that is coming up, for some people it's a joyous, happy occasion and they look forward to it and they're seeing friends and family and it makes a big thing. There are some of us that are still grieving. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that last summer I lost both of my parents, 8 weeks apart. This is the second Thanksgiving that my sisters and I, will have without them. And it's hard to have a different setup on the Thanksgiving table. So, as much as I'm going to ask that you think of me and send good wishes for the holidays, I think of all of you and for anyone else who is going through challenging times. We're a great community here and we all need to stick together. So thank you so much for being here with me. And you can't even see me, can you? Thank you so much for being here with me. Till next time.